So we'll start the meeting at 6:02. Well, welcome, everyone.
Hi,
Happy
Jeff.
New Year.
Happy New Year.
I would like to welcome Grant Neuendorf, who's new to the Norwich Rec Advisory Board. Grant, welcome.
Thank you,
And
Jeff.
Tara Booker.
And Tara Booker, the new Director of Human Services in Norwich.
Thank
Tara,
you.
I know you're a whaler, but welcome to Norwich.
Thank you.
I've heard many good things, and it'll great to have you be part of the team here.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to it.
That sounds wonderful. So are we. So Cheryl, correct me if I'm wrong here. We don't have any minutes to approve from the last meeting because there really wasn't a last meting.
Well,
Yeah.
do we have to approve the meeting, I pulled mine out, September 15th? Because we didn't have a
No.
meeting in November.
Correct. We still have the minutes from the meeting previous to that, the September meeting minutes that would have been approved during that last meeting that we didn't have a quorum. They need to be approved.
Very
But
good.
nothing to approve for the meeting. We didn't have a quorum because we didn't take anything.
Do we have those minutes?
I can try to email them behind the scenes right now, and maybe at the end of the meeting, you guys can approve them.
That
Works for
sounds
us.
good.
All right, let me try
You
to
don't
work.
have to send it to me. I have mine in print. Old fashioned.
I have them as well.
Oh, okay, then maybe I don't need to.
So the only person that needs them is Grant because he's new to the rec advisory. And is it Tara or Tara?
It's Tara, but I answer to either.
The reason I ask is that, listen, my name as well, same thing. So they are the only two that need them.
But they don't need to approve them because they can't vote on them anyway, right?
Yeah, they would have abstained. So yeah, you're right.
Right. Cheryl, you know what? If you email them to me, it's not a problem. And we'll circle back at the end of the meeting.
Okay, I'll try.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we're on to item number 3, which is new business, the rec facilities update.
Okay, so with that update, often Lauren Wagner, my rec facility supervisor, would give that, but he retired January 4th. So the position is open, and the facility maintainer number 2 is filling in for that spot until we do the hiring. The position was posted for an internal posting, and it closes in a few weeks. So in the meantime, I'll do a quick report for them. The crew's been mostly doing brush removal, fall cleanup with leaves. Our leaf machine has had some difficulty sucking up the leaves. We did get capital money last year to buy a new one, but due to COVID, there's like a 6-month delay on this type of equipment. So they're still doing some of the cleanup, but we hope to have a new leaf machine soon. They've been doing a lot of cleanup of the garage since the last supervisor left. They did some snow removal in the last few weeks, as you know, some ice snow. And winter's usually a lot of indoor projects like painting of all the wooden signs at the parks, fixing all the picnic tables that got weathered over the year, building different playground equipment that we order. And then that way, when the ground unfreezes, they can install the different swing sets and things like that. And then they're also doing just regular maintenance on the other facilities and buildings right now. So that's pretty much, and then the interim supervisor is helping me get different quotes for all the ARPA money. We're gonna, in some CDBG funding we got for Occam. There's a basketball court there that we got funded to resurface. Some other basketball courts with some other funding. So we're trying to get quotes, some roofs repaired for the dugouts at Dickaman and Moriarty. So he's assisting me getting all these quotes. We have to get 3 quotes in order to do pretty much any job. So it's a lengthy process.
Excuse me, Cheryl, the Ockham courts, that's Red McKeon?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, we have funding to redo that, resurface that basketball court and do the lights from CDBG from last year's appropriation.
great.
Convert those to LED lights. And we have to spend that by the June 30th, I believe. So we got to move on it.
Okay,
Excuse me, can I just interrupt for a quick minute?
Sure.
We have a new member, Grant.
Yes.
That's me.
Okay, we haven't met in person, so it was just like, who are you? Sorry, I just, like
No, it's all right.
introductions.
Sure, I can give a quick intro. So pretty much I'm a new city council rep. I work at
Okay.
NFA as a intervention specialist. I'm a soccer coach at NFA. I coach the freshman team, the boys. Been a lifelong resident of Norwich. Played sports at NFA, went to school and played soccer. So very much involved with recreation and wanting to see it go in a positive direction. So
Great. So you and Darrell are the two council reps on this now.
Correct. So he took over for where Alderman Bill Nash would have been.
All right. And we are in need of how many other people on this? Two more
One.
citizens?
Yep. One other.
One?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Just needed to clarify. It's been a while and so I'm just kind of getting my head on here. Okay, thank you.
Can I ask a question, Cheryl?
Sure.
So, and you're talking about facility updates. I'm gonna split this one because I know there was the CDGB money for the other Jenkins basketball court. Does that money have to be spent by June 30th as well?
For CDBG,
For the
We got-
additional, the basketball court?
yeah, CDBG for Jenkins Park, we
Mhm.
received through CDBG 11,375. That has to be spent by June 30th.
Okay,
The ARPA money, as you know, has
Got
a
it.
lot longer, correct?
yes. Well, what I'm asking is the 11,000, is that for the construction of a new court?
No, oh, that money. Okay, let me explain this one. The 11,000 was to remove the backstop at Jenkins because we're converting that softball field to a soccer field, Grant. It was to seed and fertilize the infield because it's, it doesn't have good grass
Correct.
because it's a softball field.
Mhm.
And then 6,000 was to add a few playground equipment pieces to that playground.
Mhm.
Um,
And I know you,
Go ahead.
and I know that, when I proposed the ARPA money, some of that ARPA money could be used to replace additional playground equipment if necessary.
Correct. So then we got other CDBG money, and I'm saying some of this for all of you. For Taffel basketball court, that got converted to a Jenkins basketball court. So we have about 70,000 for Jenkins to build an additional basketball court that has already been awarded to Modern Construction. We
Okay,
are waiting for some paperwork through Kathy Crease's office,
okay,
a little more. And I believe, so that's whenever we get the go from Kathy Crease, we can start that project.
but that one's got to be done by June 30th.
Tara, did you find out from Kathy yet?
Yeah, she said June 30th is the deadline on that.
Okay,
Perfect.
so yes.
Okay,
And then we got another additional 120,000 from Jenkins.
yep,
Darrell knows about that. You
Correct.
know more details on that to
Yeah.
do additional projects at Jenkins. I do want to figure out some ideas for that and maybe create a group to talk about what would go over there.
Mhm.
Uh,
One of the groups, and I don't know if I remember if I put it in the resolution, but knowing that Night Flight uses the space a lot.
Yeah.
That was one of the groups that I had suggested to reach out to, because I know the other part of me thinking and thinking out loud when proposing that is that tennis court area. I think it's across the street. That was also included within that space, and thinking of that of either if it's converted into a multi-use space, so tennis is something else, but also looking at that piece because I knew we had the money for the soccer piece that you were doing, a little bit for the playground, but of course the goal was to have enough money to do the other additional things that need to be done over there as well. So definitely.
Correct. Well, one thing is with that 120,000, we did not put lights on the second court yet.
Correct.
And you're right, that tennis court there is pretty bad shape. Whatever we do there needs a new surface, which is 50, 60, 70,000. It's just, what do we want to go in that space?
Mhm.
We are doing the Armstrong tennis courts soon. And so do we really need tennis over at Jenkins? Should we convert it to some type of soccer arena? What should we do there? So if anyone has any
Who makes
idea,
that determination?
it's a
Who
good
would
question.
decide that?
Well, I'm guessing,
With the tennis courts, either to remain them as tennis courts or to do something else?
Well, in theory, we got funding to do a parks master plan. Yet that takes like a year to do, and some of this money has to be spent by June 30th. So I think it's going to be community input and making the decision that way.
I think the point that Cheryl's making of this is because some of the ARPA projects conceptually designed phase is already being done, and this is just not even just the recreation, but some of the other things. So even like Uncas Leap, and there are bigger pieces to the puzzle of a master plan and whatnot. Some of these are projects are going to be pieced and completed before that plan would even be complete. And I think that's kind of where she's alluding to. So since they were able to secure the CDBG money for the second court over there. And I think they this past spring resurfaced the court that's already exists there. Some of the projects are going to be done before they have that final plan complete. So
Yeah.
Kind of utilizing all the money that we can get to upgrade recreation in the city.
Well, just for my 2 cents, I'm in that neighborhood often for some other reason, because I'm dropping kids off or whatever. But the tennis courts I have noticed have been utilized in the good weather. When I'm there, there's young kids out there on those courts. And it would probably be cheaper if you could redo them, like the ones at Stanton. Stanton, they're really nice now. And I think that would encourage that neighborhood to even utilize them more. But that's my 2 cents.
Okay, so that was my facility update. I mean, there's more ARPA later in the agenda, so I can save some of the other ARPA funded projects for then, unless anyone has any questions.
Anyone have any questions on facilities update? Cheryl, do you want to go ahead with Fred's tennis report?
Okay. Yes, I sent that out. Oh geez, but I didn't print it. Let me try to grab it. Did you guys look that over yet?
Yep.
Yeah.
I was reading it
Okay,
and I had a question or two.
sure. Yeah, let's handle it that way since I don't have it in front of me.
So I'm reading, and I'll just read the passage out loud, and then of course you can expound on it. So I'm reading I was reading the passage where it says the company gave a rough estimate to redo 4 courts. This was 2 years ago, of about $400,000. That recently has increased to $520,000, secondary to the rising costs in steel fencing and general construction materials and all of those things due to COVID. Quotes are only good for 30 days and the time period has already expired. To date, we have made contact with 2 other companies and are awaiting more information and quotes, which we expect should be coming forthcoming in the next month. And this was sent Friday. So a total you have the 100,000 plus the 350,000 from Arpa, which is a 450,000, and then the 19,000 that was raised. So you have around $470,000 already, if I'm correct.
Correct.
My question is the overall court. How many courts total does the clay court have now?
4.
Okay. And this is just me asking the question. Do there need to be 4 courts over there, or could it be a 3-court space? Just asking.
It needs to be 4 for gameplay, with how they do the matches.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the next question would be, how soon are you trying to do the construction on the courts?
This spring, summer.
Okay, so in theory, this is just me again speaking out loud. The cost for the fencing, I'm guessing, is
Yeah.
included in the overall cost of the courts construction.
Yes, and fencing is very expensive right now.
And the lighting over there is all set for right now?
That was phase 2. Yes, the lights are the old halide bulbs. They do work.
Okay.
So we're thinking we do not have, I have a quote for that. To convert those to LED is 145,000 additional.
Okay. So I mean, it's good to know that's of course that phased out part. The reason I asked the question about the fencing is, if the fencing is done separate from the courts, does that affect the overall project?
The fencing is 108,000. We're doing a post-concrete slab.
Mhm.
I think it has to all happen together at the same time, the whole project. But, well, let me pause. So, Darrell, we are going back to the contractor to see what we can do to get the price down. You can change the gauge of the fence. Instead of doing every 8 foot a post, you can go every 10 feet,
Okay.
less doors. So he kind of gave you the report as is. And good news, I just got to, so we're trying to get it within the price range.
Okay.
The good news I got today, Public Works will do some of the demo, taking out, you need an excavator. We do not have an excavator, but Public Works does. So they just offered today to take out, do all the demo work, take out the fence, the cement slabs that the fence posts sit in, and then remove everything too. So
that would be the clay court as well?
I don't think they want to keep the clay there for a sub-base material.
Okay. Okay.
So we're gonna, and that's where I'm going back and forth now, saying if we do more work, if we take the clay out and put the structural fill in, then maybe their quote will come down and I can use internal resources. So we're trying.
Okay. And the only reason I'm just trying to ask, these questions, because I know that's more, I know we've been working on that project before I was on a council, but definitely it's been a big push since I've been on the council. And I know it's something that everybody wants to see completed. So I figured I'd ask that question. The other question that I have is, I know once the project is complete, I know NFA is going to want to definitely have home matches and whatnot there. Has there been any conversation with us as the city having put up a substantial amount of funding towards the project? Has there been a thought of going and having a conversation to see if they would contribute anything financially to the project?
There's been several conversations with them.
Okay. And I'm guessing it's been a no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cheryl, let me just ask this, and I know there's been several conversations, and I'm not sure exactly, what can be public information and what can't be, but do you think they would consider paying for the difference between what we can raise and what it'll cost? Let's just say that number is $50,000 right now. If you go with the 520 versus the 470 that we have, and this is hypothetical, but would they pay that to help us get the first phase done? And when they have boys and girls tennis matches, they get, first dibs on it on that day for those timeframes. So kind of like they're helping us get finished. It's, Norwich Recreation property, but because they paid this much, when there's a boys match, when there's a girls match, from 2:30 to 5 o'clock on Tuesday and on Friday, they're going to get to use the courts. Something like that.
Well, I can bring that up. The athletic director sits on the tennis committee of NFA.
Okay.
I can ask him if he's interested in that. And they already do get first dibs based on the land deed that happened in early 1900s. NFA gets first dibs on playing on those courts.
So the other concern and the other reason I bring up the NFA pieces, I know that this project is going to also allow them to possibly in the future host a tennis tournament.
Correct.
So, because they will be the pristine court in the conference, brand new, things of that sort. So, that's my other thing is economically, they're going to benefit from this project in a larger sense too. Not only are the residents of the city but their athletes their program will. It gives visibility as a whole. And, I figured, the conversation, and I get it, if they're not going to come in at a 50,000, what could they possibly contribute, to the overall project to bring that number down? That way you have some wiggle room even within the contractor, so I understand you've already had the conversations with them, but, seeing what could they contribute, I think it would be the approach I would want to take. And then the other conversation would be, it's okay if you can't financially contribute, manpower wise, is there anything you can contribute?
Okay, I can ask. Thank you. Good ideas. Okay. Anything else for facilities?
You're muted, Julie.
Oh,
Cheryl, is there a reason why NFA is saying they can't contribute anything to these since they use the courts for their teams?
I'm not. I'm not
I don't
sure.
get it.
I think just a
I just
budget.
don't really understand it.
COVID, they're pretty tight on their budget right now. And yeah, I don't know. Grant, you work there. Maybe you know what's going on with the budget.
I don't really, to be completely honest with you. I mean, I just recently got my job there, but I think Daryl makes a really strong point that if NFA is going to be using the courts and the primary user of them, we've got to push them for a little bit more help. Because like Daryl said, if we could just do 3 courts, why does it matter if they're match playable? If it's just for the community to go out and have a good time, then it doesn't really need to be 4 courts for match play. It only needs to be match play certified if NFA is going to use it. So if it means getting 3 courts done with the money that we have, then I'd say it's probably more beneficial to get 3 courts done than be waiting out to see if anybody else can help out to get that 4th court done. So I don't know.
Well, and I will say, I've had some conversations with the athletic director and whatnot on other things. And, you know, I think the bigger part, you know, you did an excellent job, Cheryl, dealing with them when they did the upgrades over at the softball fields, when they got the scoreboard and different things. And it's that whole piece for me of us being community partners, so helping one another. And I know from from taxpayer standpoint, they're looking at this as, you know, the city is taking on this heavy lift of restoring something that so many people look forward to, and it's going to upgrade the area as a whole. And NFA, of course, is going to use it. They have the right to use it based off of the land deed. But what contribution are they willing to make towards the overall project? And I'm not saying that it has to be something significant, because quite frankly, the project is mostly a city responsibility, but with them utilizing it and that partnership that we have, any little amount at this point kind of helps put us over the top.
To kind of add on to Daryl's point, I think maybe like if they can't be financially helpful right now, at least hopefully they could collaborate with us to kind of host clinics or tournaments that will help the city make a profit back off these courts, you know, because I know that anytime kids get involved that are from that age group, they can do a good job running like youth clinics and even having like maybe parent player dual tournaments after the season is done, stuff like that, just helping us be a little bit more creative in, you know, making up some of this money. You know, I feel like anything that we should put into the rec department, we should be kind of figuring out ways to utilize how to make some economic money back, you know.
Okay. The next is the Ad Hoc Tennis Committee. Jeff, did you want me to just roll into that? Because it kind of relates.
You can if you like. Did everyone have a chance to read? That's the report that you sent out, Fred's report, Cheryl?
Yeah.
Did everyone have a chance to read that? Does anyone have any comment in regard to it beyond Darrell's?
I didn't have a chance to read it. I'm not sure if I'm sure I received it, but I didn't read it. Sorry.
Okay. Cheryl, do you think we covered the gist of it in the commentary in the back and forth with Darrell?
Yeah, that was pretty much what it was about, just the update.
Okay.
And
Right. You know, and it also just depending on how this shakes out, I mean, you know, there is an opportunity to try to fundraise more to bridge the gap. You know, there's a chance that maybe NFA can come up with some of the money. There's a chance that maybe the contractor can come down a little bit in his or her pricing, and or in a month or two, as the supply chain works itself out, maybe the costs come down for the fence, hopefully. You know, I mean, there are some possibilities where the numbers could align.
correct.
Okay. Enough said on that. How about a program update?
All right. Well, let's do B. The tennis committee one first, if that's okay, Jeff.
Sure.
So the tennis committee had a 2-year creation from city council. So that needs to be renewed. It's now run out. So I believe it's going on and soon Darrell and Grant to renew that committee for another 2 years, it looks like.
Yes, the other thing, and I don't know if you've had a communication with everybody from the committee, is that, if you have a yes synopsis as far as everybody wants to continue serving, send me an email. That way we can just add the names to the resolution, instead of them having to go through a whole nother interview process. And then if I know you have one to replace, if there's an additional person that you think is interested, let us know. But if you have the names and they're willing to continue serving on the committee, let us know and we can write the resolution as having them in it for an additional 2 years, everybody.
And
Okay,
you're referring to the tennis committee, correct?
Yes, there was the Ad Hoc Tennis Committee that we had formed 2 years ago to
Right.
start the fundraising
So
portion
do they know that?
do they know
The
what?
members of the committee, they just need to email and yes, we want to continue?
Yes, so all Cheryl has to do is reach out to them.
Okay.
And this is the process we're going through with a lot of boards and commissions now that's a new term. So it's kind of, we approved 2 committees last night in itself. But it's, all she has to do is reach out and say that. But they have to come for a resolution anyway to the city council because the committee was only authorized for 2 years.
yeah, everyone's turning, but Paul Zenowitz just resigned, but we do have a replacement person in mind. So I'll
Okay.
get you names.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, any questions about that?
Nope.
Okay. How about a program update?
Okay, programs, I'll try to go fast. We just finished our fall session 2, the end of December, and now we've started winter. But the session 2 for fall went really well. We had great numbers and our preschool programs are doing really well. We do some pre-K sport programs. Our tumblers, which is like a gymnastics program, those classes all filled. Same with Little Champions Karate. It's a karate program on Friday and Saturdays. Younger kids, that was full with wait lists. So we're doing really well. Dance filled last session also. And our basketball did really good, our fall basketball programs also. So despite the COVID, we're masking kids up and they're still wanting to play. And then this winter, we have started our basketball league that just started this past week. Wednesdays is the younger kids. And then Saturdays, we partnered with the new athletic director for Board of Ed, Lou Allen, and we're running a Saturday program for like middle schoolers. And then we have Thursday night, tomorrow night, starting the high school program. So basketball is going really well, and those are being run in the schools. The high school basketball, I know, Jeff, you'll ask me. We only got 10 kids. So we
Okay.
decided today to still run it as open rec basketball for high school kids. So we'll have a supervisor there and kids can sign up and it'll just be like open rec play, scrimmages, things like that. I figured let's do that rather than cancel it and not give an opportunity for high school kids.
Rec basketball is my most fond Norwich sports recreation activity.
Yeah. So that's fall's going really well. Bob's keeping on top of everything. We are in the schools starting in January. We started in the gyms. So we're following all the protocols for Board of Ed and it's going really well. Parents are adjusted to everything with this. So they want their kids out playing, and we're following the, CIAC and Department of Public Health guideline.
That's great.
Yeah, so I'll give that brief unless you guys have questions about certain programs.
Just about the high school basketball one. So pretty much what you're saying is you guys got low numbers, but you want to keep it going. So if kids start like rolling in, will it just be kind of like you're saying, like you
Drop
said,
in.
right? Just like pickup games, kind of.
Yeah, we debated today how to run it. We're gonna send the email out. I think the email went out today. We're gonna run this. If new kids want to join, call us to register.
Okay.
So we still want them to register, but we know
Right.
kids might just show up at the door.
Right.
And then we'll get them to register after that first night, because
Okay,
we
and
do want the drop-ins.
Correct.
Thursday
And
night,
I
you
think,
said?
But with all the board ed rules and the contact tracing, we really need them
Right.
set up.
You
know what I
said
mean?
Thursday nights.
Thursday, 6 to 8 at teachers.
Okay.
and I think the other part is, it's just like, I did football as a referee, football in the fall. This is one of those seasons. Basketball is no different than that fall season, where getting kids back in the mode of signing up, but also with a lot of the rule changes, even with school, where a kid has to be medically cleared and all of those other things could be some of the hindrance too for many of the older kids signing up. But, I think as having it like this right now, I wouldn't be surprised in a week or so if that number triples or quadruples. It's just, I know how the high school league runs. They show up out of nowhere.
Darrell, we used to have, when my kids were of high school age, we used to have like 4 to 6 teams.
Oh, I remember. I
know.
supervised 1 or 2 years, so
Yeah.
it's definitely fun.
Okay, that's that update.
Daryl, how are the numbers for the younger kids, the elementary school kids?
The elementary, we have 48 kids in that.
Okay. Well, that's
Yeah.
not bad.
No.
No,
Actually, I tried to register one of my grandkids and it was closed.
yeah, we're on a wait
Well,
list.
that's what I was told. It was. Yeah, he's on a wait list.
Yeah, the middle school league still has openings. But the young wait list. If we get enough for a 5th team, we'll add it. Enough kids.
Any other programs?
Those are the highlights.
Okay. And the budget 22, 23?
Yeah, that Leanne and I submitted that back in October. I don't know, Darrell, has anything come of it yet from your level, or?
We haven't heard anything about budget yet.
Yeah, we haven't had meetings. Last I heard from Josh and John that they were going to start scheduling those meetings for end of February, early March
Correct.
with the department heads. So
Okay.
we're still a little ways from that.
Correct. I know the council, we have a few workshops coming up to discuss some of the other things. So that discussion will kind of help him shape the priorities of what to look for come budget season. I will say the other tricky part or not really tricky, but also nice part to this budget year is it coincides with the larger discussion of the second allotment of ARP funds that the city will receive or have. So I think that's this budget will be a larger undertaking as to how we craft it and what things we utilize some of those funds to expand things on. So we will say.
Okay,
Okay, under old business, the ARPA update.
yeah, so that is just updating. We did get funded for several projects through ARPA. I think we went through those at the last meeting or the last meeting. So I'm working on getting quotes and engineers in, but we got funding for playground in Greenville, splash pad, basketball court renovations, and schools as community centers, Jenkins Park that we end. So, and the neighborhood revitalization funding. So we're still behind the scenes, just getting all that going to get all those programs and services going.
Question I have, I know one of the projects, it was one of the later ones, with the youth football.
Yes, that too, like at Jennings.
Okay, is that something that's gonna be a springtime project?
My honest answer, it wasn't on my list yet.
Okay, and the only reason I bring that one up as a more of an urgency is I know, I mean, they start their season in August. And the
Yeah.
concern is right now with, at the end of that last season, there was, I think, some work or tweaks done to make the lights work. But they won't be able to host night events. I mean, I think most of their games were on Saturdays this past season. But my bigger concern I have with the lighting system as it is right now is kids walking down in the dark. And I know I don't want to wait too late. They start practicing and the season's starting, and it's dark down there and kids are walking and it's just a liability of a situation. And then the second part is they're in a different conference now. So they moved over to the AYF conference, and they start their season a little earlier than their old conference that they're in sometimes. So that would preclude them possibly from having a early season nighttime game. And the other big concern is they have made the field bigger down there. So it is a 100-yard field. And as an official, I could tell you, they don't meet the standards as far as adequate lighting of all of the key areas on the field as is. So the proper lighting on both end zones and things of that sort don't meet all the standards. And I know they've been cited before for it. So I don't want them to have to come out of pocket for fines for something that could be very costly.
Okay, I can move it up the list.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you.
This is gonna sound awful, but it's very time consuming to spend all this money.
Listen, I appreciate the work that you guys are doing. And as I've said before, these are once in a lifetime things, and recreation is a big part of where this money needs to be spent. So I'm trying to get as many projects done as possible.
Oh no, it's a rec director's dream to get funding. But the engineers you have to meet with, the design person, the RFPs, everything's got to be bid. And, it's just, you can't just like your home, you're like, I want a new roof. You just call one person. Okay, do the roof. Municipality, it's a totally different ball game. So it just, you have to do the whole process. So it takes time, but that's okay. It's a good problem.
Cheryl, just to clarify, so are you saying that we are getting a splash pad?
We got funded 150,000.
Okay, for that.
Yes.
Okay, and I know I was rereading the minutes from back in September. Just a couple of quick questions, because I know we're going to come back to it, but and I think it goes under this. you discussed that time, the expansion of Jennings Field. Now, are you just, when you mentioned expansion, are you just talking about putting different venues in there? Or are you able to actually increase the property of Jennings School, Jennings Park,
This
Jenkins Park?
This past spring, summer, we did the expansion. We got the goalpost moved from 80 yards, 100, and all the fencing, my crew took out all the foot and removed the fencing. So the field got expanded, and then we had
Okay.
a light post move. We still need to seed and overseed and grow grass in that new area. And then the lights now need to be upgraded to kind of meet the whole new field size. So they played on it last year, larger, few games.
Correct.
Throughout.
Okay, I haven't been there since last summer. Also, we also talked about of an aqua center. Any chance that's happening?
That I did submit an ARPA proposal with my budget with Leanne and Tara. I think you're aware of a lot of this too. We did submit that with my budget request for the ARPA section for the aquatic center. $12 million only. So maybe Darrell can vote.
Like a deal.
I'm not even gonna get into that right now. He got a
Yeah.
lot of work to do, but,
Exactly.
now, can I ask a small question? I mean, you may not have a conceptual design. When you were talking aquatic center, were we talking a brand new building? Or did you have like where you wanted to put it?
We were gonna add it on to the senior center. Julie, you were on that committee with Leanne that did that feasibility study.
Yep.
So proposal
Yep.
was to attach it to the senior center based on that past group's findings. We're gonna do 2 pools, a small pool that's warm, smaller, the seniors and therapeutic and swim lessons for little kids. And then the larger, I don't think you call it Olympic size, but the high school sized pool where you could have meets and bring in some revenue. So it's gonna be 2 pools.
Okay.
Did that feasibility study get completed?
The
Yeah.
feasibility, I believe it got to all the way to the council.
Julie sat
Oh,
on it, right, Julie?
I've had a
Yes, it
chance to
did.
read it.
It was kind of like an offshoot of, I was on the community center. We were looking into a community center. But what we really felt, we didn't need a community center, but we really did need an aqua center. And I'm surprised seniors aren't, I would love to get into a therapeutic pool at this age with my arthritis, just to be able to exercise in some warm water. But yeah, that's what really boiled all down to. Actually, I think, Cheryl, you have all my notebooks and everything from the end of that committee.
Yes.
Does anybody just routinely ever get anywhere near Mansfield, Connecticut?
Yep.
So
Mansfield?
if you're in Mansfield, Connecticut, and have 15 minutes and you don't know what to do, right next to E.O. Smith High School is their community center.
Yep.
And
We
it has a
visited that.
pool.
Actually, they were one of the ones we visited.
Okay,
and
so
we got
you've
a lot of
seen it.
information from them.
Very
Um,
good.
I mean, for me, the other thing that I looked at, I know the town, I think it's town of Groton, has a swimming pool in their school. They took the old, I think they,
Groton uses Avery Point. New London has a pool.
no. So I know the city of Groton uses Avery Point. I think the town side has a pool inside one of the old elementary schools that they did. Or did they
No,
not?
that's not true.
Or
They
was
used-
it Wyndham
No,
that
that's not.
They used Mystic Ed Center for years, but that closed, the town of Groton.
So was it Wyndham that had the pool in Kramer?
Wyndham has one.
But they just built a whole new center, so we're not even gonna talk about that, but they had a pool in an elementary school
Okay.
in the lower level or something of that sort. So I've seen several of them, and I think it's a big conversation to have this spring about what to do, because it's not going anywhere.
And you know what kind of makes me a little annoyed is that New London, I don't know where they're getting their funds or what they're doing, but now they're building a great big community center. I don't know if it's going to include a pool, but at Fort Trumbull. So here we got New London, who I find kind of comparable to Norwich, even though it's smaller in size. And they're coming up with a brand new facility for their community. And it's a little disheartening that Norwich, and we, oh my God, I can't even tell you how many times, because we continued this committee and we really boiled ours down to this aqua center. We didn't even want a whole community center. We just wanted an aqua center, and they couldn't buy it. And it just was so disheartening. That's all I can say, but.
Well, and
another.
I will say the bigger picture here is there are several opportunities to see how this can be done, because we have the school facilities project, which is we've put a deadline to March to try to get a plan together, which would possibly free up some building spaces over a phased construction approach. I think when you look at New London, they were ahead of the ball game. They did construction on their schools instead of fighting about it. They got that done, which allowed them to free up time and money to bond out for this community center. So we're gonna have to try to do it all in one, but it's a big conversation to have this spring, like I said, because there's an opportunity for construction central to happen in Norwich, Connecticut. So, yeah.
Okay.
Can Tara or I get on that committee, Darrell, the school facility committee?
Let me
Is that
talk.
those things?
Let me talk to Alderman DeLucia and them, because I think for the most part, all of the city officials, maybe department heads, maybe ex officio members, but I can ask them. The other thing is I can see if they'll allow you to come in to talk about those other pieces too. So I'll give them a call after this meeting.
Yeah, I just think, I always hear about it, Tara, and maybe it'd be me, or I hear stuff, but I never know what's going on with that committee, and I think we could have good input.
Yep.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Tara.
I definitely would like to be part of the conversation. I mean, there's multiple layers to this conversation. I mean, and Darrell, when you were in the office, we kind of touched on the fact that human services really doesn't have space. Like, wouldn't it be fabulous if like youth and family and rec and human services all had space? I don't know where we're putting all our summer youth employment people. Like, there's literally no room for the kids. So there's definitely multiple needs that we could meet in furthering this conversation. And I think looking at the school buildings and properties that already exist is a great way to swallow that.
I will talk to him about how we go about adding you guys to the conversation.
Yeah. Are they still meeting? Because usually I used to see updates in the paper about their meetings, or have they ever come to a conclusion about what their plan is?
So the facilities committee, which was the first phase, had completed its work as far as the need. So when the plan failed to go to referendum 2.5 years ago, they had a new facilities committee that was formed. They completed the work. A school building committee was formed about a year ago. They recently had RFPs that were put out for architectural design firm who has started some of the community work with the design phase to decide what schools, where things are going to be located. They started that back right after the election, so beginning of November. And they are getting ready to gear up, especially since they've got a deadline of June, to really kick it into high gear as far as community outreach with a design plan and all of those things. So they have an architectural design firm that was selected and that they're working with. And they should have a meeting, I think, coming up in a week or so. So the information's out there, but I will have them send it out.
And so where can I see what they have decided on, or where would I
If you
go
go,
online?
if you go on the website and you go down to committees, it should be one that says School Buildings Committee.
Okay.
First, check the one that says 2020. And then also they may have, because we reauthorized it, there may be one that says 2022 as well, but it's the 2020 committee
Okay.
where you'll see all of their meeting minutes.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay,
and then
thank you.
Darrell, with that too, in Colchester, I was involved with the process. The schools were gonna add a rec center to one of the schools, so I was on the committee. And even if we're just giving input is important from that community side. And also, don't ever forget about the fields. Sometimes
Well, that's
when
the
you
other
build a
part.
school,
Yeah. Correct.
when you build a school, they forget to build the right fields for the right sports, and they didn't consult the rec department. So like they build you a soccer field, but the community really needs a football field. So it's important, I think, to give inputs.
Well, and I think the other big part is because there's the fields close by, like, for example, Moriarty, I think, is one of the prime spots where you will see an expansion. They've got all the field behind that, but that also expansion could affect the Olet Park, you know, as far as the ecology and all those things. So keeping that in mind. So I will definitely get you guys to be a part of that conversation.
Thanks.
No problem.
Cheryl, the vacancy update?
Oh, I think that was that this rec advisory board had a vacancy, but we already talked about that.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
So that was just to say we were
Searching
People-
for the replacement for Ray.
yeah.
Okay.
And
So-
what about Jeff, are you gonna mention anything?
Okay, I'll mention it. I just want to thank everybody. My term is up on March 15th. And since we have some young people with rec age children in the hopper, I figured it might not be a bad time to step aside since my children have aged out. And let them step in and bring their passion and interest to the committee. So this will be my last meeting. And I wanted to thank everybody for your hard work and your input. I've enjoyed myself a lot. And listen, the rec department's going in the right direction. I'm thrilled with that. And I just want to step aside and see all the good things that happen. You know, Darrell, Grant, you guys are bringing energy. Julie, I think back to a couple of years ago, all the fundraising ideas that you had, you know, from other towns that you brought. Cheryl, the passion that you're bringing. And Tara, you know, you're coming in at a good time. And, you know, I just want to pick up the paper, or actually not even pick up the paper anymore, just read online and hear good things and smile about it.
Well, the other thing I will encourage you, if you have the time, we've got other boards and commissions that we would love. So there's never enough work or opportunities for you to stay involved, but we definitely appreciate, and I've appreciated working with you both on this committee, but also doing some of the fundraisers, you know, the 3-on-3 tournaments and whatnot. So.
Oh, it's great. Thank you. Listen, Norwich is lucky to have the people that we have. And we're all here because we realize what Norwich can be, and we're just trying to help it get there. Back to when we were younger, Cheryl, and in Norwich, and some of the things that we had, you know, with Julie with your grandchildren, and Grant, now you're here and you've got, you know, a young son. Norwich can be great again. It's just gonna get people to, it's gonna have to look at things a little bit differently than they have, that's all.
Agree. Well, thank you, Jeff.
Yes,
Thank you. Before we adjourn, one thing that has come to my attention that can we mention this, Cheryl? Under
Yeah.
other business?
Sure.
So Cheryl and Leanne started to work on a document about recreational funds and how those fit within what happens from a budgetary standpoint with the city of Norwich. Cheryl, am I correct?
Yeah, we're kind of looking at some ideas for that and trying to keep, yes. Tara, I think Tara and I can talk about it.
Yeah, I have a draft policy to provide to Josh and John.
Okay. Yeah, so I think we got it covered, Jeff.
Okay. Okay, very good. Listen, I'm only a phone call away if you need me or you have any questions. And again, I'm thrilled with where we're at compared to where we were, and I just want to see it continue the way it's continuing. Keep up the great work.
I had
Right.
one small question,
Sure.
for maybe Cheryl. For permits, for like springtime, are you guys, when do you start giving out permits for the spring?
We sent the packet out last week,
Okay,
had it ready, and now I think they're due February 18th-ish back to us. And
Okay.
we don't start booking fields. The first date available is April 1st to book for spring, and you can book till August.
okay, that's for fields?
Spring fields, yeah.
The only reason I'm asking is, and I mean, it probably hasn't even come up yet, the track. I know the charter school is using the track, but I also know, I don't know if Norwich Public Schools is gonna do track in the spring. And if they were to start earlier in March, would that change any of that?
If anyone has earlier dates, they can include them, like the track, yes.
Okay.
But
I'm just-
generally,
I'm
We're
just,
trying
I mean,
to-
I don't think really anybody will, but I just was trying to think ahead because it's been crazy. Yeah.
yeah.
I'll just tell them when they decide what they're gonna do to reach out to you about it. So
Yeah,
I just wanted to make sure so that I had a point person to send them to
Yeah.
questions for the permits, because I don't need the questions to come to my email this time.
Yes, the packet's ready. She can call us.
Okay, well, no, I'll have Lou Allen reach out to you as well, if they're deciding to do track and they want to start in the month of March, possibly.
Okay,
All right,
perfect.
thank you.
Thank you. Do Julie and I need to accept the minutes from the meeting on September 15th? Julie,
think so.
have you had a chance to take a look?
I've read them. I'm good.
I'm good too.
To accept the minutes.
I'll second it.
Absolutely. So the next meeting is March 16th. And this meeting is adjourned at 7:05.
Well, thank you, Jeff. Pleasure
Thank
working
you.
with you.
I
Yes,
hope we
thank
run
you.
into each other soon.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Thank
Good one.
you.
Bye, guys.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night.
You too.